Part 2. When I lost my barn because the property owners wanted to sell, I didn't have a job. I spent my entire life working, learning, studying, and learning, and studying some more and learning some more how to run an equestrian facility. I spent my entire life doing nothing but being the weird horse girl in the class that did no projects on anything but horses. When I was told that I could not do any more projects on horses, I did projects on how to farm hay instead. It wasn't about horses, it was about hay. Every waking moment of my entire life until I was 42 was spent studying, looking at, drawing horses. I know horses inside and out. And when I didn't have a job, my job that I spent my entire life shooting for, I had nothing. Nothing. People don't think you have any skill outside of your section. So running a business didn't matter anywhere. So think about that. There's the people that are involved too. It's not just the horses. The people that are running the carriage companies, the racing facilities, the breeding stables, and everything else, that's all they know how to do a lot of times. I have other skills, but not everybody does. And those people need to have food, a place to live, a job to do also. So going back around to the racetracks and the racing industry, one of the things we have to keep in mind is there has to be balance. The horses need jobs, the people need jobs. And a lot of times, yes, I know it's a casino, and the casinos could run fine without the racing industry, but the people that are on the backside need jobs. They need to eat, they need a place to live, and they're really good with their horses. Really good with their horses, to their horses, for their horses. They're not all bad. The racing industry is not all bad. And in fact, they're working really hard to make it better. And there are a lot of people out there on the saddle horse side, on the race side, on the breeding side, and the back side, and at the tracks that are doing everything that they can to make racing better too. Let them do their job because they know how to balance it. If you want to protest horse racing, get a job on the backside. And you can see what it's really like. You can see how much care goes into all those horses every day and how those horses love to run. They're psycho about it. They want nothing more to win. And I can't remember which two horses it was. I want to say it was Sunday Silence and the horse that was always running against him. Alidar, maybe? Those two horses recognized each other. They were owned by different people, different stables, different trainers. And they would nicker back and forth when they knew the other one was there. So these animals need each other too. It's not just Big Ben. Big Ben. It's not just Big Ben. Big Ben has friends too. Now you've just disrupted Big Ben and all of his friends in Chicago. Good job. Good job. Horses are herd animals. They need each other. They like each other. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes they scream at each other. It's fine. Your brothers and sisters fought with each other too. It's fine. Everybody eventually gets along. For the most part. So when you take a herd dynamic and you disrupt it, it does funny things to everybody else around. Now we have to, so let's say we have a pasture that has 10 horses in it. And they've been together for a while. Somebody is going to be the bossiest boss, and somebody's going to be the least bossiest horse. They're going to get picked on a lot, and the big one's going to do a lot of the picking. Take the big one out, now we have to find a new big one. Now there's all kinds of fights and disruption. And the picked on one is going to be like, I'm out of here. I don't want to be by these guys. He's going to go off. Fine. Okay. But when you disrupt that herd dynamic, there's another thing too. More fights, more injury, more vet bills, possibly. That's another thing. People who don't know anything about horses need to just go knitting. Go find another hobby. Don't harass the horse people. Let us do our jobs. We know what's best for our animals on the individual level. We also know what's best for our animals on the broader scope. Sometimes things take time. The racing industry, it's been doing its thing for 200 years. More, depending on how far back you want to go with that. It is getting better. Track surfaces are getting better. The more we have, the more time we have, the more science we have, the better we can figure all of those things out. But it's for us to decide. And I'm not saying you can't have an opinion. Have an opinion. Share your opinion, because opinions make change. And if it weren't for some of the opinions, some of the things would not probably have changed or changed as fast. And it's good, but you cannot have an abrupt stop. You cannot. And I mean it. You cannot stop the racing industry. Here's what's going to happen if you do. You're going to have 100,000 race horses, at least, that now have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. What are you going to do with them? What would you do with 100,000 horses? How you going to feed them? Where are they going to go? Now, there's a lot of people that take off tracks and do a lot of good and show and off track. I love that. It's the TIP program. It's wonderful. If you don't know about it, research it. If you have a thoroughbred, look up TIP, T-I-P. It's awesome. Look up Retired Racehorse Project. Also awesome. Look up the stables that work with these organizations, these groups, the Jockey Club. The Jockey Club runs TIP. That's where you can look it up. I don't know the website, but Jockey Club, Google. It's perfect. They're taking strides to make sure that racehorses have a job after the track. Support those. You want things better for horses? Support TIP. You want things better for on the racetracks? Talk to the people who work there. You want to make a difference, there has to be a bridge. We can't just do that. We can't just stop it. That's not going to work. Then you have 100,000 horses that have nowhere to go and no one to feed them. And thoroughbreds are more expensive to feed than a quarter horse. Not as expensive as Big Ben, but they're expensive. Like real close to Big Ben. Expensive. Just in feed. A lot of times. So think before you activist, please. I am all for activism, so long as it's done appropriately. Activism is good. It brings change. Just make sure it's appropriate and that it bridges. Because if the United States suddenly has 100,000 horses that have no job, no purpose, no value, they go to the bad place. A lot of them are going to go to the bad place. Should we talk about the bad place? I think so. Horse auctions. They are not all created equal. A lot of what you see in the high-end auctions is a wonderful thing, and horses go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Awesome. Perfect. Those horses will have well-cared homes. They will get all the food and shoeing and whatever vet needs they have taken care of. Same with racetrack horses. Then you have lower and lower and lower standards until you get to that low standard. It's the worst thing you will ever see in your life. Go to one. If you're an activist and you think that there should be no more racing, no more carriage horses, If you're in the Midwest, if you're in Indiana or near Chicago, I implore you to go to Shipshewana. I think it is the first Tuesday of every month. I could be wrong. They auction horses, and you will see horse trailers in the parking lot. You will see double-decker cattle trailers in the parking lot. I'm pretty sure they still do that, even though they're not supposed to. Last time I was there, they had a couple of them. They will load pregnant mares, stallions, foals, baby horses. A foal is a baby horse, if you don't know what that is. They will all load them into the same trailer and take them to the same place. There's one place in Canada and there's one place in Mexico. Fortunately, I feel that it's good that we don't have them here, that they're not functioning. At least last I knew, they were not functioning here in the United States. However, because they are not functioning here in the United States, and I realize that is a sore point for a lot of people, but they do have to travel up to Quebec, I believe it is, and somewhere in Mexico. And from what I understand, the one in Quebec's a little bit nicer than the one in Mexico. What happens there? I won't get terribly graphic, but they don't leave. Not alive. I've seen video where horses were being slaughtered. Unfortunately, I wish I could not have seen that. My life would be better. One of those videos had one horse being slaughtered and then stalks like a cattle chute. And there was the next horse, and then the next horse, and then the next horse, and the next horse, and they were all watching that horse get slaughtered. Next horse checked out. He was gone. He wasn't there. Mentally checked out. Next horse was watching next horse, watching that, and shaking. Because he knew what was going to happen. He knew what was going to happen to him. Big, beautiful, gray, looked like a quarter horse, gorgeous. This horse was gorgeous, standing there shaking because he knew he was going to die like that horse died. He watched the other horse get cut up. This is what it looks like for them. So if you like horses and you think we shouldn't do what we're doing with them as the equine experts, don't just stop racing or carriage horses. If you actually care, find some other way that these horses can be alive and healthy, and give us your ideas. Because just stopping them, carriage rides, and the racing industry or any other industry, I'm fine if we lose the walkers, the big licks. There's a better way. But if we just stop it, these horses have nowhere to go. And where they do end up going is the worst, most terrifying end to anybody's life I have ever seen in my life. If you care, find a different way, or make what we're doing better. If you have an idea that makes the racing industry more humane and more better, discuss. We're all open to listen. We want to make it better. Most of us. But just stopping it is not the answer. It's not. Because what happens when you just stop it is not pretty. And if you think I'm exaggerating, Google. That's how I found that video. That's how I found other things. Go work at a rescue. Pick up some horses from some little old lady who's terribly alone and whose life is horrible, and she has so much fear in her life that she can't leave her house because she's so afraid. Go there and pick up those horses. Go to the slaughterhouse. Watch what happens. Go to the auctions and watch what happens at the auctions, the low-end auctions. Please. Because this is the things that we work against and we try to change. But we don't try to change it by cold turkey stopping, because it doesn't work. We already know it doesn't work. It didn't work for the greyhounds. It's not going to work in the racing industry. If you actually care about the animals, that's the kind of solutions that we all need. Something other than cold turkey. Because all you have, if you stop something cold turkey, greyhounds are a good example. You've got an influx of animals that have no purpose. And then what happens to them? Some of the most amazing horses I have ever met are thoroughbreds and off-track racehorses. They are the most entertaining, intelligent animals they're most into people, they love people. They are so cool. They are better, almost, I'll just say this, but I'm biased. They are better than dogs. They are more interactive. They are more entertaining. They are very intelligent. They will carry on a physical conversation with you, body language conversation. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. And these animals who can change the lives of people in good ways cannot see an end like that gray quarter horse saw. That's not okay. That's not for any horse, and not for our Big Ben, and not for our race horses or our Tennessee Walkers or whatever we have. Quarter horses get a lot of that end too, and it would be great if we could breed them better. Go back to breeding them better. That would be my wish, because I really love me some quarter horses, because they're pretty great too. And we need to find better ways, but better way is not cold turkey stop. It is not stopping carriage companies. It's not. That's not okay. Not once you know what it's like to be a horse, or to live with a horse, or to work with a horse, and to know that your whole entire life is spent studying them, and then you have somebody who thinks that it needs to step, because it doesn't work like that. It doesn't do any good to stop it like that. Now, if I don't have a good answer for the carriage horses, because it's not, and it's not like it's always like that. A lot of times the carriage horses do have a country place that they go to in the winter. A lot of times they trade off, and they go off on the weekends, and they have different weekends that they trade off. Big Ben sometimes spends probably a week or two out in the country, but again, it's not like that for all of them. And good version Big Ben probably has some place to go. Not so lucky Big Ben does not have any place to go. And he's really expensive. And when he's not earning money to help pay for some of that stuff, he goes to the bad place. So you got to think about that part of it too. And everybody who voted against having the carriage horses in Chicago, or New York for that matter, I'm pretty sure probably all of those horses did not have a pasture to go to, or were too expensive. So, you activists who think you know all the answers, it's not what happens all the time. They don't always get a pasture to go to. Sometimes they go to Mexico. Sometimes they go to Quebec. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not the life that horse was supposed to have. Don't do it to the thoroughbreds. Better not, because that would be awful. That would be horrific. There's too many of them, and they're too great a breed. Go meet one. They're pretty cool. Take some riding lessons. That would be a really good, not plugging myself, but take some riding lessons and you'll see what it's like. what horses are like. You get a good trainer who understands how horses communicate, you're going to learn amazing things about yourself, about horses, about how to interact with people, what people need, what horses need. And what's really cool is they will teach you how to interact with people on an entirely different level. You will see things in people that you never used to see. And when you see these things in people, you become a little more humane towards your fellow man or woman or human or everybody in between. And it makes a big difference in how we treat each other. And this is why we need to have horses in our lives. For those super extremists who I really don't like, animals and people will need each other a lot. And it's not just the service industry animals like seeing eye dogs. That's very important. But another aspect of my life was spent working at a facility that used horses for hippotherapy. I'm also have been certified for 6 years with EGALA, which is mental emotional therapy with horses of some sort, and learning and team building, that kind of thing. I have watched horses heal humans on the inside faster than they would sitting in a therapy room talking it out. I have seen horses give people in wheelchairs maybe sometimes the first time they've ever been able to view people from the top down. Can you imagine what it would be like living your entire life in a wheelchair or lower than everybody physically and getting a chance to be 6 feet higher than you were before and looking down on somebody for a change? That's gotta be cool. You take our horses away from us entirely, PETA. Those people lose. Those people lose. They've already lost enough. I don't think they need to lose that too. And then there's the other people, like me. The only thing I ever liked was horses. And cats and dogs, and all the animals, but I wanted to be Jane Goodall when I was a kid. And horses were my thing. And horses did amazing things for me too on a personal level. Gave me a job, a couple of careers, a couple of different ones. I shod horses for a while. I learned how to blacksmith. That was wicked awesome. Taught me how to teach riding lessons. And once I started teaching riding lessons, I got to be a coach for tons of kids and adults and encourage them to be the better them that they could be, and helped, the horses helped with that just as much, if not more, than me. And there's nothing better than being alone in a barn full of horses eating, munching, and sleeping, and horses snore. Did you know horses snore? They dream. They do the leg kick thing when they dream. They nicker in their sleep. They're pretty cool. So when you are small and you can work a 1,000-pound animal and have them do what you want them to, you realize a couple of things, like you're not gonna be able to beat them into getting them to do what you want. You've got to learn how to talk to them differently than you do a person or something else, some other kind of animal. You can shove a dog around a little bit, but you're not shoving a horse around. You have to learn how to do it the right way. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity to learn how to do things the right way. And sometimes a horse is the only way that they can learn how to do stuff the right way. Because a horse has teeth and it has hooves, and it can kick really hard, and they can bite very hard too, and it's scary. So if you've got somebody who has emotional problems that maybe fly off the handle and anger issues, put them with a horse and see what happens, because they learn real quick how to act right in a lot of cases. So humans need animals Humans and horses have been working together for 2,000 years. There's a whole bunch of us who know this deep down, probably on a cellular level, probably genetic. We're in tune to each other, horses and humans, on a very deep level. So we need our animals, and it's not just to make money and run ribbons. There's a lot more to it, and if you were a part of it, you would know. So, in closing, because I'm long-winded when it comes to horse talk, try it out. See what you think after you've been doing it for a while, and then we'll talk. If you think the racing industry or the carriage horses should end, go take some riding lessons and talk to some of us who live with our animals and who feel that our animals are equal to us. Because they are. They're our equals. They just look different and they smell better a lot of times. We wouldn't tell you how to do your job. Don't tell us how to do ours, and that's supposed to be bluntly rude. Because we know what we're doing, and we've spent a lot of time studying and doing, and studying and doing, and blood and sweat and tears and sweat and more blood, and mostly blood and sweat and hay everywhere, mostly in the bra. It's where it collects endlessly. So you've got to be there, you've got to be doing it. You can't just say, no, you're not doing it anymore, and because it's the righteous thing to do. It's not. It's not. You screwed up Ben's life. Screwed it up. Probably permanently. And potentially in a very bad way. That you didn't think about that, did ya? Let's just hope Ben does have a pasture to go to somewhere and he can pull something other than a fence post out of its hole. Probably a cemented in one. Because they're really good at that. And I hope Ben has a job. I hope all the Bens found a good place to go. I don't think all of them did, though. So think about that good and hard before you decide another carriage company needs to leave another city. They don't always get to go to a big green pasture, and it's not good for their bodies either, unless they've been acclimated to it. Think it through. Talk to people who know. We're not scary. We're not crazy horse people. All of us. Anyway, some of us are, but we're not all crazy horse people. Some of us do have good, valid thoughts and opinions on the topic that we are seeped in. This is our lives. This is what we do. This is what we live for. Even the crazy ones will admit it. There's a couple out there. You know who you are. Or maybe you don't. But if you don't know it, don't preach it. Because it doesn't end well for everybody. And it's not just the people's side, it's the animals too that suffer. And quite painfully and graphically and horrifically. They suffer too. And that's definitely something you got to think about before you decide that something shouldn't be done with an animal that it was bred to be doing. And I'm going to say that again. And again and again. And anyone who wants to argue with me and discuss about it, feel free. We'll do a video chat. I'm totally open to that. Bring it. You want to tell me how all of this should end? That's fine too. That's fine too. But that is my next half hour of my 1 hour program on why the horse industry should be left to the horse industry people, and think about what happens to the horses when they don't have a job. Because it's not always pretty, and I've seen how not pretty it can be. And it's pretty tragic and altering on all the levels. It's ugly, but to the horses that still have their pulling jobs, I'm grateful that you have your pulling job. I am grateful that you are cared for every day. And I am grateful that you have food to eat. And even if it costs you a couple hours pulling here and there, I'm glad you have a food to eat and your routine that you need, because horses need their routine very badly. They're very routine driven. And I hope that for a long, long time, at least for the rest of your lives, you will continue to be able to pull and do your routine and have your job, and you know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. And I am grateful that you currently know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. Those horses are lucky. They are the lucky ones, because that is how horses live. And that is what they live for. They live for their routine because they need to know what's going to happen tomorrow, just like you do. Peace out.